guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. My name is Samnang, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. It's been great to have your support, and I want to tell you a little bit more how you can support the community and how we can support you as well too. So, if you like the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, the message that we're putting out, the information, the content, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel on Spotify. Please like it. Please share it. Please share an inspiring message. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out to people that need it. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are in need of more personal development support in those areas of physical fitness, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, anything in that type of area, please book a discovery call with us. We'd love to help you. We'll get some time on the schedule to chat about what your struggles are, how we can help you, and we'd love to support you in that way. And if you are interested in being a part of being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. If you have an inspiring story, you have something that you want to share, if you have a message that resonates that's similar to what we're sharing here on the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, we welcome you to be part of our show. We're super excited where the growth and the community is growing. So we look forward to having you here, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you guys so much for the continued support and the love. And we'll continue to keep putting out the good vibrations out there to help elevate the collective vibrations. And thank you guys so much.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the Flow and Flow podcast. My name is Sam Lane. I'm a lifestyle and performance coach, hybrid athlete, and philosopher. Today, I'm the host of this podcast, and I got a special guest here. His name is Chris Hill. Chris Hill is a classmate of mine from high school. We played football together. He's got a wonderful, crazy story that he wants to tell. He's been telling us why he's on the podcast, but last week, right before we jumped on the podcast, we kind of catch up to figure out what we're going to talk about and discuss. Chris has been through a lot in his life. We're going to tell his story a little bit. We're going to keep it upbeat and fun, but also be real as well too. So hopefully this podcast tells you the story of like what people go through and how you see things, and we're definitely going to clear up some stories of in high school because there was a lot of rumors about Chris, and of course you had a reputation. But part of this podcast is to talk about those things that we've had in the past and what kind of work we've done, and make a bigger impact and teach each other how to change and support each other. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Samnang. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Welcome. Feel free. What we're gonna do in the beginning is Chris asked me, was like, "What do you want to do?" What do you want to do? He was like, "All right, I'm just gonna learn about it." I was like, "All right, well, you know the podcast. I'll let you go and vomit all you want, and then let me know. Let's chime in a little bit and continue the conversation, right?"
Yeah. Break it up. It's a very emotional topic for me. Been through a lot of realization, a lot of therapy, a lot of help. Big journey. I mean, it's still a long journey, a lot ahead. And basically, I just want to just get out there and just be like, to anybody that thinks that mental health is something that guys can ignore, shove deep down. Sorry, I still get emotional. It's serious. Just being open to having a conversation and revealing my emotions and my true feelings to just another person that I wasn't in a relationship with at the time. I could see it objectively. That could help me where they weren't biased. Just being willing, that took years for me. I was way too late. I probably destroyed so many relationships. All my friends, wasn't there for y'all.
Yeah.
When you guys had your first kids, and I'm really sorry about that. Changed a lot since then. But yeah, so yeah, just being willing to open up and realize that you do need help. It's really a message that I'd like to spread to specifically men, because especially our generation, I mean, we were just taught, be a man, be a man, be a man, man up, and I invalidated a lot of things growing up. So going through therapy, I just want to get this out there. I don't really want to keep going back to it. And I'm not trying to give excuses for any of my past behavior whatsoever. I should have done something to help myself a long time ago. And a little late to the party. Hopefully the future is bright for me and everybody else that I interact with, and anybody that I can help support in any way possible.
Yeah.
But so through therapy, I was diagnosed with bipolar, PTSD, and anxiety. PTSD, which I had denied for years, stems from a car accident where I actually died twice. We split back together, but I mean, I was a big drinker at the time. I was drunk, and
When you said died, what does that mean? Like, were you in the hospital and like, were you?
So I'll get into that whole story later. But yeah, I basically flatlined twice in the ambulance, and I had to call the medevac to take me to Trauma 1. But yeah, so I had so many friends. When I went to military school for the last couple of years of high school, and I had so many friends that went in the military, even from Lake Braddock. Just so many friends, so many encounters that have been in the military, and it was a dream of mine to serve, and I fucked that up. Getting that. But
was that after high school or after?
Yeah, that was a year after high school. So I fucked that up. So that guilt of me fucking that chance up was heavy on my heart for a long time. And then so when the accident happened, I didn't think it was PTSD. I was like, I know so many friends that served, that went overseas, that were in the military, that actually have PTSD, and I just invalidated it. And I was like, there's no way I have it. There are people that have it way worse than me. But going through the therapy and accepting the trauma, physical and emotional, from my past, and I'm not going to get into my childhood, my youth, but I will say that through therapy that I realized what trauma really is. I always thought it was just physical, bleeding, broken bones, physical trauma. I didn't really know or want to know what emotional trauma was.
Right.
Childhood trauma. And I'll just say I've been through a lot. And so through that, PTSD, the diagnosis with bipolar, the anxiety, I'm getting neurofeedback is a type of therapy that I'm getting right now, which is actually re-engaging both sides of my brain. So through brain mapping, and you guys can Google it. But talk therapy I've been doing for about 2 years now too. And not trying to use it as an excuse, but it's an understanding. And the medication, being medicated and having the therapy, it has helped me tremendously to just clear my head and live guilt-free again. I mean, the guilt of all the lies of my past, of my life, that I had to remember all this shit up until a couple years ago, and I just let it all go and was like, okay, I'm not lying to this person.
Right.
The new relationship that I'm in, I was like, once I got that from the very beginning, no lies whatsoever, it felt so good, so free, so liberating. And then on top with the therapy, just getting everything out and just opening up like a freaking firework. And with the medication and the coping skills that I've learned, it's just taught me that, man, it can make a difference. And I vouch for anyone that thinks they might need therapy. Seek it. Get a free consultation. Like, just go do it. It is so helpful, and it can change your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you want to go into story time?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'll make maybe some insight about like therapy and the need for it. It's one of those things, like when you start doing it, you're like, oh, I wish I started earlier, right?
Oh man, yeah.
I'm sure you had that. I had that point. Like I did therapy for 3 months myself. But therapy, in my sense, was more of just like relieving tension, or like the cutting the edge, because as soon as I went into therapy was like, as soon as I divorced, next day I was in therapy, right? But it was just a choice that I could have done therapy before my divorce, before all that stuff going to, and then all the emotional trauma like comes. But I think more importantly, it's more like a preventative thing. Even if you don't think that you want it, I think it's so important because preventative is the way to keep you from getting down that spiral, that road, and everything. So it's a great point, and I applaud you in being honest about that as well too. Because my mission when I started doing this podcast was just to hold some space for folks to say, "Hey, look, the emotional baggage that you were holding." I think I heard it was guilt of all the lies that you said, and that kind of built up to like a certain point, and then it sounded like you just created this person that wasn't like real, and then therapy kind of helps you be like, no, that's not the real person. I think that's something that
Yeah.
you're pretending to be. But yeah, tell us a story on how like the trauma started. I know I met you in high school. We played football together. I remember you being the backup quarterback to Sean Harris and the backup quarterback Fitzgerald. And then I remember us in the locker room just dancing the Backstreet Boys and just being silly. But I don't know much of Chris Hill.
I want that way.
Uh, Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. That was the time. That was the time to be alive, bro.
That was fun, man.
And we had some good times in Morocco, but and then all of a sudden I heard some rumors, and I want you to clarify a little bit some of the rumors because high school is a formative time. Like, literally, I don't think anybody knows what the fuck they're doing in high school or who they try
Mhm.
to be or like what identity they are. I'm sure there was a lot of something like going in your head or like, hey, I'm trying to impress somebody or whatever. I want to hear like what was going in your head when that happened, and then the result of it. Was that the start of it, or what?
So what started with it was, I mean, bad decisions on my part. I had started drinking like summer before my sophomore year, and not like heavily, but getting drunk
You
early.
tasted it, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I had that taste, man. And then, so I started just, making friends, not riding the bus anymore, being thinking I was one of the cool kids, getting rides to school, skipping school. And, I didn't, my grades suffered and I aced every test, which is how I validated it. I aced every, I didn't do any homework, which is why I freaking got D's and F's on everything. I got
Yeah.
95s and above on every test I ever took at Lake. And so that's how I validated it. And then, so I was like forging my report cards to bring home to my parents. And then winter break, when they got the winter interms, I had like, I think 5 F's and 2 D's and like all these absences. And they got the report cards before I could forge it.
Uh-huh.
And so they saw it and they just lost it. They were fighting amongst each other, and I was just sitting on the floor.
This is your parents?
Yeah, my parents were
Okay.
just fighting with each other, and they were arguing like what to do, how to punish me, how to do this, how to do that, and
Yeah.
screaming at each other. And all of a sudden, um, my I honestly I can't remember if it was my mom or my dad, but one of my parents just pointed at me and said, "If we ever got a divorce, it would be because of you."
Mm.
And that
Yeah, that's heavy. Yeah.
that that triggered in my head. I just snapped, and I went around the house and I deleted all. We had the little caller ID boxes at the time. I
Hmm.
deleted all the caller IDs. I went on my computer at the time. I put a password on everything. I deleted every single way that my parents could find any contact information to anyone or any of my friends or anything. I erased it all. And then I'd been sneaking or I've been taking my parents' car without their permission for a while before that. Me and another student at Lake Braddock and I'll just leave it at that, used to go on joy rides when we were like 15, 14, 15, just driving around. So I already had taught myself how to drive. And, I packed up a bag and I had another friend of mine that had moved to Ohio a couple years before. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna head out to San Diego. My aunt lives there. I can stop in Columbus, Ohio. I'll have a place to stay, whatever. And packed up a bag and made some burnt some CDs and
City
got
lives.
got
That's
yeah
mixed
got
food.
me
Yeah.
got me the old '97 Camry and just put it in neutral back down the drive and just left and headed west. I wouldn't.
97 Camry.
Yeah,
'97
97
Camry. Those
Camry.
Camrys, I can tell you, I'm telling Camrys are pretty legit because I had an '87 Camry and I drove it past 200K miles. But so you took the Camry and drove across the state. That's right.
Well, well, I was headed for San Diego, and I had MapQuest directions out to this friend of mine's in Ohio.
There's some throwback shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, man.
CD-ROMs.
Uh, so yeah, man. So I had to Columbus, Ohio, and
Yeah,
I MapQuest this girl's house, and I showed up before because I drove through the night, and I showed up like as she's getting up for school, and I'm
uh-huh.
just sitting in the driveway, and she was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, "Ran away from home,"
And who is
and
this girl? Who is this girl?
Christy Sparrow.
It's a friend of yours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was like, "What?" She was like, "I had to go to school," so I drove her to school. And then I was like, "Oh, what do I do for the day?" And so I decided, hey, let's go drive to Cleveland. There's a Navy Federal Credit Union in Cleveland, and that's where my bank account was. I was going to go get some more cash.
Uh-huh.
And so I started headed up, and I hadn't slept a wink. And I had just turned 16, and fell asleep at the wheel in the left-hand lane,
Oh
swerved over
no.
3 lanes, hit a tractor trailer, and sideswiped the shit out of the car. Freaked out.
Yikes.
And then I started going to body shops, and I was like 16, and this is in like 2000, and I was like, "Hey, I got $50. Can you fix this car?" And the whole side of it's just totaled. And they're like, "No, absolutely not." So I ended up going back to her house, and I listened to I guess they had gotten her phone number, and they had my parents had gotten their phone number, and they had left a message, and I heard my parents leave this voicemail on the answer machine.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I started, made me feel real guilty, and I was like, shit, I gotta call him. I gotta give this up. Like, this is stupid. I just almost killed myself. Let me give up. So I call up my parents. I tell them where I'm at, and they're like, we love you, we love you. We're gonna come get you. Stay put, don't leave. I was like, no problem. Whatever. Then they called back, and it's my friend's mom was like, okay, he's verified, he's there. We'll wait. His mom and dad his dad is gonna be on the fly out here and come get him, whatever. So I'm chilling in her house. Go upstairs. I'm on AIM. And her house. Her
That's the
house was
message.
like house was like Home Alone, where the staircase went right to the front door, and the office
Yeah.
was right at the top. So I'm on AIM. I can lean back in the chair and see down the front door. And I'm talking to Lathan Lemaine on AIM, and he's just going, "Where the fuck are you?"
What's Nathan's screen name? Can you remember his screen name? What's your screen name?
Mine was Joe Butt 17.
Joe Butt.
What? I think Lathan's was like Black Man X8 or something.
Yes, it was. He was. I did get Jack Butt. Yes. He was so proud of being black. He had to his own screen name. Okay. We gotta throw some jokes. I know it's like a serious story, but you gotta laugh at it. Like when I heard you told me. At least you can laugh at it now.
Now, so man, it only gets crazier from here though. So
It's all about these stories.
I'm talking to Lee. I'm typing to Lathan. He's like, "Where the fuck are you?" I was like, "I'm in Ohio." He's telling me about everybody's getting questioned at Lake Braddock, and I was like, "Yeah, I gave up. I don't my parents know." I hear, and then my friend's mom calls the house and goes, "Oh, the police might stop by to make sure that Chris is there."
Yeah.
And we're like, "All right, cool." So maybe 15 minutes goes by, and bang, bang, bang on the front door right down. I lean back in the chair. She opens the door. It's cops in full SWAT gear, MP5,
Yikes.
storm up the door. "Get on the fucking ground. Get on the fucking ground." They slam me on the ground, handcuff me. I mean, they're in like combat gear. And I hear this helicopter. They bring me out the door. My friend's mom. Yeah, my friend's mom. She calls her mom. Her friend's mom speeds home. They're just getting me into one of the police cars. I look around. They've got like 50 cops. There's a dude on the roof. There's a helicopter. There's a freaking sniper across the street somewhere. They sent every cop in this little town of Ohio to this house, like a raid. and I'm 16. And
That's
so
early.
my friend's mom just jumps out of the car. Is like, "What the hell are you doing? It's his parents' car." Well, I didn't know this, obviously, but because Virginia state law, you can't report a runaway for 48 hours. So my parents reported the car stolen. So when Fairfax County Police were listening in on the phone call, when I called and gave myself up, behind my parents' back, Fairfax County Police alerted the Ohio police that I was at and just told them Grand Theft Auto, the suspects at this house. Didn't give them any details. And then, so the Ohio police came in like it was Christmas, like they had never had anything to do. And,
Yeah.
so yeah, then they take me to adult detention center in Ohio. They put me in this, they do the whole intake thing. They put me in this, in a cell, and they're just yelling at me. And I'm 16, and I'm surrounded by like cockneys and motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like,
You scared?
I was this little preppy white dude that came in there wearing Abercrombie, and I'm like, oh, my ass is next. I know it. So
Yeah,
I was
that
fucking
makes sense.
scared. I was scared shitless, man.
Yeah.
And I went and they served us lunch. We ate in this place, and then there was a big glass window, and you could look, and there were the women prisoners on the other side. And I looked up and I looked at him, and the guard just comes over, slams this freaking Billy Club stick thing on the table, and goes, "You don't fucking look at them." I was like, "Well, where the you put the window right in front of me? What the fuck do you mean don't look at them?" So then, traumatized by that, go into my cell. They gave me a cell by myself, thank God. Go into this cell, and then I'm just like praying to God. I'm like, when is my dad gonna get here? And
Yeah.
so I go to finally, I don't know if I slept or not, but I woke up to a guard banging on the cell door. He just opens the door, no words, just opens the door, slides this bucket of soapy water and a towel in the cell, and then just closes the door and locks the cell. I'm like, what the fuck do I do with this? So I grabbed the rag and I started wiping the window of my jail cell. And he comes back and he starts yelling, "What the fuck are you doing, boy?" He was like, "That's for your toilet. What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm like,
Still
how
right
am I
now.
supposed to know? You took a bucket of soapy water and a rag in there. I didn't know what the hell to do with it. So, and then, so yeah, then ended up getting called into court to arraignment. And I look out and I go in there with fucking shackles on. And I look out and my dad's there with Sean Harrison. Brought Sean Harrison to Ohio with him to get me out.
Sean Harrison, the quarterback?
Yeah. We were best friends at the time. He didn't talk to
Ah,
me. He didn't talk to me after this. He came to my
okay.
dad to get me out of jail, and then he never talked to me. We ran into him to a Nats game one time, but
Okay.
and maybe at a concert. I don't know. But yeah, we didn't speak after that. We were like best friends up until then. But I see why he wouldn't want to be friends with me after
Right, right, right.
that. I understand.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna be like a senator or some shit. But yeah, my dad and Sean Harrison are out there. I get released. It's a pretty quiet car ride home
Right.
because my dad also then gets the car with the entire side swipe from hitting the tractor trailer.
Yeah,
So
you fucked up a
wasn't
lot.
too happy. Yeah, wasn't too
Wow.
happy. Yeah, so then came back and dropped art class and had AIA with Miss Rupus as a class, sixth period of my sophomore year to end the year. And then went to military school. Couldn't imagine why.
Yeah, yeah. I can see why. So I don't think you ever graduate. You didn't graduate from like that, right?
No, I didn't graduate from Fort Keene Military Academy either. I got kicked out my last term for having some beers on a ski trip. I was
Okay.
one of the. There were six people that got in trouble, and four of them told the truth and got to stay. One of them was Nick Lepresti, who was at military school with me. He told the
Yeah.
truth. He got to stay. I lied. I got kicked out. So, but then I
Okay.
graduated from a Richard Milbourne Alternative High School in Woodbridge. That was fun. But I skipped it to go to prom, Robinson's prom. So I haven't had a graduate until I graduated Nova. I went back to school this past semester and finally got my degree. And I never had a
So,
graduation.
so you were making some really good decisions in life in high school, and they were really good decisions. So, uh, continue on a little bit, moving to someone else's story a little bit. Was the car incident, the theft of the car, like one of the biggest things that affected you, or was it kind of like, I don't know, that sounds kind of like traumatic. It
So
sounds kind of
so
like, it sounds like it affected a lot of people.
Yeah, so the parents with the if we ever got a divorce it'd be because of you. That comment just sticks in my head.
Okay,
And
so there's something that you were kind of like, it's repetitive, and that's kind of like,
I'd be like, fine, I'll remove myself from the situation. Like
yeah,
that's what my head was at. I thought I was doing a good thing.
right.
And
Turns
but
out, turns
yeah,
out, not so
exactly.
much a good thing,
Hey,
and
maybe
then
let's get
because
better grades. Yeah.
okay, so and then I mean, you after high school and everything, and then of
Then I went to
course, right?
West
Okay, you went to where?
then I went to West Virginia University.
Okay,
Went for a year. Went for well in so October of my freshman year. I decided I was like college isn't for me. I'm gonna go because I was gonna get my degree and then go to like officer candidacy school. I was gonna go to the military try to be a pilot if I got my degree.
uh-huh.
But since like October of my freshman year, I was like I can't. I have no discipline. I can't do this. Like college is not for me. So I signed up to the Navy. So I joined the Navy October of 2003. October 2003, I joined the Navy. And then, so I was in delayed entry program because I scored a 90 something on my ASVAB and my MOS was going to be something where the school and boot camp didn't line up so I was in delayed entry program. My ship date wasn't until July the next year.
Yeah,
My parents were like, you're not going to come home and party at our house. You're going to stay at WVU. And I was like, okay, no problem. So I took a bunch of bullshit courses. I had a blast at West Virginia that year. It was just fun. It was a blast.
yeah. Wasn't West Virginia known as a pretty big party school
Oh
too?
yeah, oh yeah,
Did you party a lot there too?
oh yeah, yeah. It was.
Yeah. So, so alcohol was a pretty big factor in like
Oh yeah,
the decision making.
yeah,
It sounds like it, right?
yeah. So
Everybody, one of the countries I've seen is like after alcohol, Chris Hill, and things started like. Was there any more events that led up to like Hillary, this big epiphany or this big breakdown?
honestly, so until therapy, and I realized with the trauma and with the bipolar and just how I had early on, and like I'm not the professional, I can't really explain it. But the way I understand it, the way that I've been learning, and the way the journey has taken,
Yeah,
is that early on in my childhood, I had turned off the emotional side of my brain because there was just so much issues with my family, and as a child, I could not handle that.
yeah,
And that's what I'm learning now. But what had happened is my emotional side shut down at a very early age, and
uh,
everything became calculated. Every single thing, the logic side was the only side of my brain functioning for years, and that just drove me nuts. And once I discovered that, drinking, I could get lost and forget and just not constantly be thinking. So I'm constantly thinking about everything, and
yeah,
it was too much. It was like I needed the noise to stop, and the only way it would stop was alcohol. I mean, and some other things, but I'm not going to go into that.
yeah.
But alcohol was the main thing that could get my brain to calm down. That's how and it was wrong, like completely wrong, not justifying whatsoever. But at the time, before I'd gone through this mental health journey, it's all I knew. Like I knew when I got drunk, my brain could shut off and just stop the noise and the constant just. It was like it was like a shouting match in my head between like have you ever watched like the English parliamentary
Yeah,
how
yeah.
that was my
Okay,
head.
let me pause it for a moment. I think so. I think earlier we were talking about this a little bit like inner child healing, and it's still a new term for me as well too. But like when you do therapy, like meditate, you meditate like how you like. For me, when I meditate, it's like I meditate on my childhood, and like that, a lot of therapy is a lot of the stuff that who you are now is because of what happened when you were younger. Like, that's because like when you were younger, you had your subconscious is being developed and everything,
Mhm,
and like you said, your emotions were being kind of like suppressed. You didn't really know how to express yourself emotionally,
mhm,
and that's real. Most people don't actually know how to express their emotions because they're not getting that space of like, hey, Chris, here you're crying or you're upset about something, and having space to like be comfortable of like explaining that. So as we get older, we're starting to realize the reason why we don't express ourselves is because a lot of the conditions that we've grown up through, whether it be your parents or your teachers or your coaches or your friends, suppressing a lot of those emotions and stuff. So now as you're doing like the therapist, like you're able to express yourself and your emotions are like a feeling of, you said guilt, right? You said maybe shame when you started doing a lot of those things that you didn't feel like you were completely happy. Those feelings are what you suppress, and then now you're bringing them up, which is a healthy way to take care of mental health. And that's kind of like, that's kind of like what we're feeling and talking to everybody in the podcast as well too. Like feeling is just what we were doing in the therapy session was just fucking words on it, right? Like you just have to have a space where you could cuss, where you could just say whatever the fuck you want on your mind, and that is probably the healthiest way of processing emotions and everything. But so that's a little bit about the childhood healing and everything, and then alcohol being a factor in everything, and then more traumas and ways and things that, because a lot of like things start in the body, you know.
Hmm?
That lead us into more of a story when you start to realize maybe I need fucking change. What's happening for me?
I mean, that's where I was getting there. It's like
Yeah.
there were some like crazy events along the way. So then the Navy thing, I was in delayed entry for so long, my ship date kept getting delayed, and then I ended up just smoking a joint, and I got frustrated, and it was my own fault. And for a long time, I told people that they found out I had asthma, and I lied to everybody. I was like, I didn't convince myself that
And so you got kicked out because you're smoking weed.
yeah, well, I didn't even get in. I was in delayed entry
Oh.
program, and yeah,
Um,
they
okay.
called a drug test at the recruitment office, and
Um,
I failed the drug test at the recruitment office. So yeah, I fucked that up. So now I'm living with that guilt. So I still have guilt on that. Because like all I really wanted to do was sort of like ever since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was be in the military,
right.
and I blew my chance there. And then before I even had another chance to try to like enlist or get a degree and go back, that's when the car accident happened. And that was a Nissan Pavilion. And this is the PTSD part. And so it was at a 311 concert in August 2006 with two girls, Rania and Rosemary, with a giant group of people uh, from Lake Braddock. A lot of friends were there. And we went to the concert, got pretty drunk, and I came back out, and my intention was to ride home with the two girls that I came with. They thought I had gone home with JJ. So there was confusion. Everybody had left me. So I called the girls and I was like, hey, where are you guys at? And I was like, oh, we'll come back and get you. And I was like, okay. And then, they called about 5 minutes later and they were like, we can't come get you. The cops won't let us. So I'm like, okay. We'll meet you up the street. So I'm like, all right. So I start walking. I head towards Wellington Road. I make a left before crossing the street. I get about halfway there, and all this is I don't remember any of this. This is all put from witness statements from other people, from people that were there. I have it documented, like the police reports and everything, except for the police reports. Get you that later. So I'm walking down the street, and I'm on the phone with them, and there's a police officer chasing me, saying, "What the hell are you doing on the side of the road, boy? Get your ass to the other side of the road. You want to cross the road? You want to go to jail?" So I was looking, I was like, fine. I saw the car, they flashed their lights. I took off across the street, and out of nowhere, I just got hit by a 1989 Toyota Corolla going
Oh,
47 miles an hour, right in front of those two girls. And I don't think I've talked to them since. And I can only imagine what that happening right in front of them at that age would have done to them, because we were 21 and 20.
right.
But yeah, I almost lost my leg, all my teeth. I broke every bone in my face. I had to go through years of reconstructive surgery. And I just had another hip surgery. So I've had surgeries all like every few years from that. And the first 3 years, it was like every month was a surgery.
Oh man.
And then
How old were you? How old were you at the time?
I was 21. I was about to turn 22. And
Oh shit!
so yeah, I was trying to get up
You
apparently.
went through a lot in that certain time. It was like
Yeah,
probably like say, damn.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yeah, I was trying to get up apparently, and JJ had somehow made his way up there and was like, "You don't have a leg," and at least that's what people told me. And so they put me in an ambulance, flatlined, flatlined twice in the ambulance, where they had to call the medevac to the BJ's whole warehouse out in Gainesville. And then the medevac took me into Fairfax Trauma, where later on I learned it was a John Doe Code Blue, which I was not familiar with the term Code Blue until years later in my life. Uh, but
What
yeah,
is it?
apparently I was, that's when it's somebody that comes in that's not supposed to make it, basically.
Uh,
And, so I spent 10, I was in the hospital for a while. I don't remember when. I remember waking up to the Redskins Patriots preseason game in 2006. Whatever that was, that's when I woke up. And I had just everything broken, and they had charged me with jaywalking. I had a great hospital stay, thanks to some amazing friends. Thank all of you for that
yeah.
were there for me then. It was an amazing hospital experience. um, but then as the legal issue went, we wanted, and they actually charged me with jaywalking
Mm-hmm.
because, as it turned out, the kids that hit me, it was a 16-year-old with a learner's permit driving and a 21-year-old older brother that was in the passenger drunk. It was after curfew. The 15-year-old wasn't supposed to be driving. And they wrote the police report that the 21-year-old was driving. And it turns out it was because they were sons of a Prince William County judge. So that's why they charged me with
Mm.
jaywalking, so these kids wouldn't get charged. So there was a cop by my bedside when I woke up. I had to sign a jaywalking ticket. And then, yeah, there's a lot of legal exploring of things we could do in that scenario.
Yeah.
Never came to pass. So, but yeah, I'll never forget the phone call that I got when they asked me to pay for their client's windshield out of pocket from Nationwide Insurance. That was a great phone call to get.
Yeah. Sorry, man. That shit
Yeah,
sounds traumatic.
yeah. I mean, I always chalked it up. I blamed myself for a lot, and I didn't really tell people this, but it's also why I never took anything seriously. It's because I just blamed myself and moved on. I was
You
like,
know, just
okay,
kind of.
yeah, why did this happen? It was me, and moved on. And then there was that built up over the years of just
Yeah.
self blame of a lot. And I
Were you
never
blaming yourself or were you like ignoring it? Or
a little bit of both. So I'd blame myself, and that's how I ignored it. I'd be like, okay, chalk that one up to me, lost. Chalk that one up
yeah.
to me, lost. And I would just move on. I didn't really learn from any of the mistakes. It
Ah.
was just, and also just living in the moment all the time. I was, dealing with depression throughout my life, and just, we're at a stage where you just don't care, and you're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking about tomorrow. It wasn't until like therapy, and then yeah, going through therapy and actually thinking about future long term. That's when it really hit me to try to be healthier with myself. That's where I'm trying to get in better exercise routine, eat better.
Mm.
Because up until a couple of years ago, I never really cared about the next day, the next week, the next month. It was just like, how can I
Right.
have fun today? And that's it. And then woke up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I woke up. How can we have fun today?
So
But
you've had a lot of so like you explained it's like the near death experience, right? You went into the hospital, you're supposed to die, code blue, right?
mhm,
When that was like around 22, but you're what, 30 now?
mhm.
Okay, so in between that time period, you never really taken the responsibility and accountability of just kind of like ignoring it and without making any changes. And
Yeah.
then you went, I remember your divorce. Was there a time, when was the time where you were like, I need to start therapy? Was it around when you separated or divorced, or did you do it earlier?
No, so we tried marriage counseling for a
Uh,
little bit, and it it didn't go well. I'll just leave it at
right,
that.
right.
Um,
I mean, I can share the
but
same experience. Like, I started with marriage therapy as well too, and then when I went and we said hey, this was separation break and everything, that's when I started my own personal therapy journey, my own. There's- Can you share when you started your own personal therapy and what led up to why you should do that?
All right, so that was probably the last, I say, about 5 years of marriage. It was just, and what I got caught up in, and this has to go with that. This also goes back to the emotional trauma as a childhood, as childhood trauma, and thinking calculated and not being in touch with my emotions throughout my entire life. I had this timeline of life of like, this is what, like, I didn't have the feelings. I never really had the feeling. It was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I've been with this person for this long. You're supposed to get married. Look around,
Yeah.
all my friends are getting married. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the person that I'm with now who, this is the timeline. And that's just like, it was logical. This is how it's supposed to go. But I had no feelings. So, and I apologize to anyone that I've hurt in the past, but I never really knew what love was until I went to therapy. It was just, this is what it's way it's supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way it's supposed to be. And it is what it is. It is what it is.
Was it because you started learning to love yourself? Is that
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
that
and
it?
then, what set me off the real journey is like, I knew I needed help, but it would just be like bursts. Like the last 3 years of marriage, it'd be little bursts where I'd be like, okay, I should get some help. But then 10 hours later, I'd have a great
Goodbye.
time and be like, yeah, out the window. What really, like, so in February of 2022, I got in an accident with my truck coming home from top golf. Ended up totaling my truck. I don't need to go into details, but then within 30 days, I was driving the wife's vehicle at the time, and on St. Patrick's Day, and totaled that vehicle within 30. So totaled two vehicles within 30 days. Went to
Man,
jail.
you don't
Went
have
to
good
jail.
luck with cars, man.
No. Went to jail. Went to jail second time. Well, for the second one, and woke up and had a real really come to Jesus moment, if you will.
Right.
I'll just leave it
Let's
at that.
let's hear the come to Jesus moment. And then I do want to. We have some people that on the Lake Guided community. I want to ask you some questions. So I ask some questions as well too. Yeah, but tell us about your come to Jesus moment.
So after the second one and getting out, and then there was a lot of animosity between me and my ex at the time, or my wife at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
we ended up having the separation. We ended up having our separation talk finally. Like it finally, somebody brought it up, and it did. It needed to happen for years, but so then I went into party mode. I was very excited. I was like so happy, so relieved that finally this came out. I'm finally getting free. I can finally do whatever. And I was in just party mode and within some toxic friendships, toxic relationships,
Yeah.
and just being living where I live specifically. It was just very toxic for me. I was just alcohol, and then really when I started dating. Right around the time I started, that's when I got into therapy, and I started dating Alex at the same time. And
That's your current partner or
yeah,
current? Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And then, so when I started going to therapy and started like, it was just that first, it went from the come to Jesus moment where I didn't want to even be around, because first it was party, and then I realized that I had nothing. Like all
Mm-hmm.
my, and it was a real self-reflection moment where I had lost everything. I pushed everyone away. It's like I didn't like, I basically threw my friends away as soon as they had kids. I threw away my relationship,
Right.
and it was all
Right.
for partying and alcohol. And the people that I was with, like we had that separation talk, the people I was with and partying, it's like that was not a good environment for me. It's like, what am
Yeah.
I doing with the rest of my life? All of a sudden something clicked. It was like, what am I doing with the rest of my life? What am I doing now? Like, what is the future? Like, why am I still doing this? Why do I want to still be around this? And
Yeah.
that's what pushed me into therapy, and then the rest is just been the journey.
Yeah. So Eamon here on the Facebook group, I have brunch with him. That was the reason why you moved to Nashville. Is it was because you were trying to kind of, I mean, changing your lifestyle and moving locations is a good way to actually like start some growth or personal development. So
Absolutely.
realizing, I think again important was like you built Chris Hill out, and then you realize at a moment like all these things that you have are supporting this Chris Hill. You know what I'm saying? So when you come to love Jesus moment and stuff, you start to realize you built that. You know,
Yeah.
and you have to take
Like, yeah,
accountability for that.
yeah,
So that's kind of like how you're like because I was having a conversation earlier, more like this area, of course, it is a little toxic, right?
Mhm.
You can do it. We got the reason and that will help you kind of growth out of the area a little bit.
Yeah, well, even just moving out of the area a little bit. So I moved to Gainesville after
Mm-hmm.
yeah, after the separation, it was, fall of 2022. Moved to Gainesville, and then I think that's when I started really cutting back on
Mm-hmm.
going down to basically like weekends, maybe staying in a lot, just watching TV, movies, hanging out at the house. But not quite a hermit, but I just cut out a lot of drinking activities
Yeah.
because. And even here, it's like even living in Nashville, it's like when you go out, it's like, oh, what do you do? Get weed.
Drink. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, but that's the way it was up in Northern Virginia, and I just I needed more stuff to do, and that's where Nashville brought,
Yeah.
where just walking around the city, loud music, constantly entertained.
Yeah.
The people are just so much, and I can't tell you how much of a different feeling it is to just walk into the city. I never feel like I'm gonna get robbed. There's no people
Yeah.
begging for money.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
it's just everybody's so happy down here. It's awesome. And then the election didn't go a lot of people's way, and everybody's just like, oh, whatever, let's have a beer. Like
Yeah.
it's just so much friendlier environment down here. Everybody getting along, and then there's the tourist trap down Broadway, which is really entertaining for people watching. I'll tell you what,
Mm.
going down there and just walking the streets. Got the Camelback now. It's just like a 2 mile walk down there. But yeah, it's Nashville's just been a whole being able to be active and have activities and then also the access to the healthcare. I
Yeah.
see three different therapists. One's a teledoc, and then two are in person, and they're all within a mile and a half of my apartment. So the access to healthcare and just the environment, and then my girlfriend also Alex wants to go back to nursing school, and there's a big healthcare community here,
Yeah.
and also a bunch of different nursing school programs in there. So
Yeah.
that's why Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's good. Sometimes getting out of the
and,
comfort zone and moving out of the area a little bit. Mm-hmm.
and no state income taxes. That's a
No
big
stuff.
plus. Huge plus. No state income taxes.
Yeah, we need one staff on office. Sounds like we're really selling Nashville here. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. And, change of scenery, I think it's good to spark some growth. And, everyone asked, why you moved to Nashville. Tell us a little bit now. You're 40 years old, kind of going through life, a lot of stuff, right? You're going through a lot of stuff. I've seen the ups and downs of life and everything. And now and how you see yourself. So when do you know Sarah there?
Nah.
I think you probably I remember a little bit early on. So did you go to school now? Or did you when did you leave that grade?
For sophomore year, yeah.
Sophomore year. I go my sister I think came like a junior year. But I
Well,
wanted to know like how and your age right now, 40 years old. What are you 30? 30 years old?
yeah. I actually celebrated my 40th birthday. Went and saw Marshmallow. So we went to EDM festival. Like we can walk to it from the apartment. There was a
Nice.
down at the soccer stadium. They got a Geodis Park where the national soccer team plays. It was like a
Yeah.
block or two away. So yeah,
Okay.
we went down there and partied down seeing Marshmallow. So I
Yeah.
mean, I just feel rejuvenated with in life. Like not many people, and obviously I'm not going to advocate for divorce, but not many people get this opportunity to just start over. It's like, okay, oh shit, I don't get to read it. It's not wasted years. I feel rejuvenated. I feel healthy. I'm exercising. I've got just such a clear head, a better mentality about life. I'm thinking about the future. It's just
Yeah.
completely rejuvenated and brought just life back into me.
Yeah, it sounds like you got some life in there, and that's why I think it's a great message in showing that your enthusiasm and that you put on is that you can change at any time, at any age. With that
Mhm.
other stuff, I think there's a lot of people that realize like, oh, maybe I can't change these patterns or change these behaviors, or this is what it's going to be for the rest of my life. Right? It's not. And you don't go out saying that, hey, you can change for me or anytime, right? It's that. Absolutely, the work that you do with the therapist that you're currently doing, and even jumping on this podcast and explaining your story and making aware of what type of things that you're doing is the type of, for me, I think it's very purposeful. It's very meaningful, and maybe just going into a little bit more into like the coaching part. I think we talked about earlier before the podcast. You wanted to get an idea of like how to get started on like fitness, nutrition, and
Yeah,
like how
yeah.
to start incorporating that into life. And then also to for the audience members, I'm a life coach, right? Therapy and life coaching, it's about developing, right? So there's certain different fields, and to tell you a little bit of difference between them. I've done therapy. It's a lot of like emotional healing, moving like shadow work, dealing with a lot of stuff that you don't like. And life coaching, it could be anything. For me, I've done so many type of different personal development work, whether it be like goal setting, being productive, shadow work, linguistics programming, and like understanding how the brain works. It's a very good understanding of how the body and the mind works holistic as well too. And I have a nutrition background and physical fitness, and having like a good routine is so important to maintaining your health, whether it be physical health, mental health, or like spiritual health, right? You have to have a routine at therapy as you get older, because if you don't, you get thrown off. A lot of stuff, as you can see, like when you take your foot off the pedal, you really fuck up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's good. It did. When I took my foot off the pedal, when I start focusing on development and stuff, that's when a lot of the stuff started happening. But maybe tell me a little bit about what you're working on, and we could do a little coaching session, and then we can leave the podcast with like a nice, inspiring message for everybody. Sound good?
Right. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been doing a lot more walking, a lot more active stuff. I'm trying to get those. I'm trying to get your abs, man. I need those abs.
How's it moving?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have been trying to eat healthier, and my problem
Yeah.
is I feel like I don't like anything healthy.
Don't like anything healthy. Okay. So
I like
this
I,
is in
I like
life
raw
coaching.
vegetables. I like raw vegetables, but they gotta be with ranch. That's it.
Yeah. So in life coaching is really super breakdown, right? You're doing brains, right? You say you don't like anything healthy, right? What do you consider healthy?
Uh, okay. I love me a salad, but I don't like it the healthy way because I gotta pour dressing on
Yeah.
it.
So that's where it's like, okay, what do you think is, you think you're, right now, what you're eating is not healthy?
I don't know. A lot of pasta, a lot of rice, a lot of chicken, a lot of sauces. Like I said, raw veggies, ranch. It gotta be a veggie dip though. You gotta have a veggie dip.
What do you think is healthy? I mean, in your eyes.
I just always, well, losing weight, eating something that I can eat that can help me lose some weight. But
Losing weight, okay. Healthy,
yeah,
yep.
I just always thought that like pastas and right, that's like carbs or starch or whatever you want to call it. I always thought that was just not healthy. So if I'm wrong, maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we enlighten you a little bit about nutrition, because it's all about education. There's no good or bad when it comes to nutrition. That's what a lot of like people think is like it's black and white. That vegetables are healthy and pasta or carbs are bad. It's not
Mhm.
really like that. It's actually more as like how you think around how you eat and how you see it. Do you look at food in a way to like, for energy, or do you look at it just to like um, because you're most like emotionally attached to it? Like, okay, today I feel like I want to have pizza because I like pizza.
No, I'm just like for me, it's more. I just know I need to eat. Like I never really have the desire to eat, but my stomach will get nauseous, and I'll be like, okay, it's
Right.
time to feed you.
Okay. And you're not really conscious about like your food choices, right?
No,
You're
yeah,
just
no, yeah, it's just
okay.
what's available. Like, hey, look, I can make that. It's easy.
Yeah. Okay. And that's the majority of the people. It's convenience. It's like how much you can
Yeah.
afford, what's closest to you, what you enjoy, right? And that's normal and stuff. But it really comes down to like how do you see food? Do you see food as fuel? Like if you look at it as fuel, like you yourself, Chris, you're a vehicle, right? A high
Mhm.
performance car. I look at myself as like a high performance car, right? If I want to be a V12, Bugatti, you got to put V12 Bugatti like fuel in there, right? So you got to look at foods as something that's going to enhance your performance, enhance your physique, right? So when you start to look at it that way, that starts to look, when you start to look at food, you're like, okay, maybe I won't have that pizza. But if you have that pizza, you'll start to learn ways of strategizing for the next meal, right? I don't want to lose you or anything, but there's things like the basics of nutrition. When you understand the rules of it, it becomes very easy. It's just more of evolving, changing your thought around how food ties into your daily living, right? Sometimes, and I can educate you a little bit, is sometimes when we eat food that's actually not meant to be for, we're not meant to eat, and actually feelings are like vibrations, right? Vibrations is like your energy, right? Your vitality and everything. Because food does that. And alcohol actually lowers your vibrations. That's why it kind of suppresses a lot of that mood, like when you're after. So food can do the same thing. So food can do the exact same things. So yeah, I guess I want to strategy or something that I want you to start to note and notice is how food makes you feel, right? It's the same, right? If you look at alcohol, you drink alcohol, maybe you drink 3 beers, it might take you 3 days to recover from that, right? Food could be also the same way as well too. There's certain foods that make you feel better, and there's some foods that make you feel shitty, right? When I eat bread, cheese, and pasta, that makes me feel really shitty because I'm not used to eating that, and that's also not what my body's meant to do. You have to look at food and nutrition as something that's gonna fuel you, right? That's going to shape you and stuff, and so you can use it at different times and not keep you at a lower vibrational state. Now, I guess for you to relate, it think of it as like bad food is like alcohol. You can process it, right? But it might not be meant for you,
Right.
right? So look at it that way. As like it's fuel, okay? And it's like it's fueling you as energy. Like when you go work out, when you go study or work, you need fuel for brain power, for physical power, for mental power, and everything. So, but I think understand like what I coach is that like reframing that food is actually meant to fuel you, right? Instead of actually just mindlessly eating whatever is close to you. But we can go into the weeds a little bit more about nutrition, but I just wanted to give you one coaching, shift that food should be fueling instead of actually just eating whatever, right? Because if you want to lose weight, there's certain ways or certain strategies for you to lose weight. It's super easy. We'll get more into that, different, uh, but the first place what you want to do is audit your lifestyle to, to really look at like what things are you doing that are applying towards your specific goals or what things that you're not doing, right? So you have to like audit your time because time is such a valuable, I guess, asset, right? Like when we had the near-death experience and when I had my near-death, not near-death experience, but going through like depression and stuff, it feels like death. And then you come to realize, you start to realize like time is important. Whatever you want to achieve, you should put that in the forefront, right? The things that you don't want, you start to put that in the back burner, right? And then you start to kind of move away from it. Like you're probably drinking less, you're probably hanging out with less toxic people, right? You start to continuously always do that because it's always a never-ending process of growth. Growth could come in from forms of exercise, therapy, changing your lifestyle, nutrition, and working out. So that's kind of like my spirit, my coaching is look at it in a different frame now. And the fact that I'm already putting a radar, just kind of expecting interest or understanding of it, is you will naturally want to learn more about it. You know what I'm saying? You see the benefits of therapy. You see the benefits of working with life coaches. If you see the benefits of listening to a podcast that reframes your thinking, a lot of success comes down to how you see and think about things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of it is psychology. So really, like when you're doing your therapy or doing a lot of like your introspective work, think about how you see food and how it ties to your life. And also look at your lifestyle too, right? You're already making improvements, but what's the next step after giving up alcohol? What's the next step after therapy? Keep thinking about the next step, but always live in the present moment, because in the present moment is the only thing that you have, right? You can only make that choice to eat whatever specific like right now at this moment. But having long term goals and having a vision of what you want in the future is so important. And then having like a vision, and maybe we'll read this and I'll ask you for the last question is like, we've done this podcast, you told your story, you're on this kick, you got this new lens of life, you're starting to learn about nutrition. Um, and are you fairly new into this personal development type of work?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's addicting. So there's definitely limits to it, and I've been doing it. Well, I know, but it's one thing that I'm extremely passionate about. That's why I do this podcast. For me, it's a good back to give a service to coach people and to have people see other insights as well too. But um, I really enjoy doing this. But personal development is something that's never ending. It should never be something that you stop doing. And there's different levels to it. And when you have a vision of what you want and there's clarity in it, there's no waste of time, right? Um, so let me, Laura asks is if you could give yourself, a younger self, one piece of advice, what would it be? Answer that question. And then I also want to hear what visions or what do you want to like have happen for Chris Hill, going into the future? Because that'll
All
be
right.
very powerful. Hmm.
So one piece of advice to my former self: buy Google stock.
Buy
Like
Google
literally.
stock.
Nah, I probably just I would just preach honesty. Like I wish I would have been honest from the beginning. Maybe I wouldn't have half of the problems that I have today.
Yeah.
If I would have just even for as a child to myself, to my parents, to friends, to teachers, just like if I could just go back and erase all the lies, all the stories and everything, that'd be awesome. But I mean,
Hmm.
there's a lot of stuff that I went through and what nobody knows except for me and maybe significant others will know some pieces, but stuff that went on in my family dynamic. It just caused me to think just differently than other people and differently than I should, especially for starting at such a young age. Um, so I'm undoing that. I'm undoing that the way of thinking that's been all I've known. My brain is what my therapist has termed my brain's been in survival mode since a very young age. So I'm trying to undo some of that. So
Hmm.
yeah, I would just if I could just
Honesty.
yeah, if I could just have that honest shit from the beginning and just push back a little, even to a family member, like yeah, maybe things would have turned out differently, but who knows? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way than I'm at right now. I've
Yeah.
never been happy. I have never imagined myself this happy and this free and this clear in my head. And
Yeah.
I got no skeletons anymore. I got no judgment anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you've been real honest with us here in the podcast, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And then also about living with no regrets, it's a good point as well too. Is like you get to a point where like we all make mistakes, and I think we have to be accepting of that, honest of it, and I think you learn to love yourself, and you
Mhm.
started to learn to love other people in the process as well too. And I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you for coming on here and telling the story and as a, like a platform, and I think we talked about this earlier, and you mentioned you're trying to find a little bit more purpose and meaning into your life. I know it's not like a spiritual talk or anything, but I think, part of when you go to therapy, you gotta start to find some faith in the next phase of your life and everything. Let us know a little bit about what has been coming in your mind, or what you've been thinking about, so we
So
could support you.
for the longest time and up through therapy, I've had this since the accident, and being like looking at my track record of my life, all the screw ups, all the bad decisions, all the negativity. It's like never really saw myself as a good person. And then with the accident, before the accident, at the accident, time of the accident, and since until I started doing therapy, I never really thought of myself as a good person, and it really weighed on me that why did I live and somebody's daughter didn't, or
Yeah.
somebody did. Like, what? Why did I get saved? Why did this piece of shit get saved?
Yeah.
And it really weighed on me that just that burden of why am I alive? And then on top of the not serving the military, and seeing what the wars did to the men and women that served overseas, seeing what the wars did to those people made me suppress my feelings even more. I was like, I don't deserve to have PTSD. It was like that's how I felt. That I
Yeah.
did not deserve that PTSD because so many people had it so much worse. And not going to say that we'll never take that back. So many people have it so much worse. But if I would have acknowledged that that I did have PTSD, and I should have sought therapy or medication or whatever after it happened, instead of just blaming myself and being like, whatever, you just move on, get drunk, next party, next girl, next whatever, and just not giving a shit because I felt like a shit.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I deserved to be alive. And then, so that was a big weight on my shoulders that therapy's really helped with. And, trying to find that purpose. I still have that, now I can spin that guilt. I'm trying to spin that guilt positively. It's like, what is my purpose? Like, what am I trying to do? And I'm, now that I have such a better mindset, a lighter, happier, more, clouds and sunshine than rain and thunder, what can I do with this new mindset? What purpose? What can I help people? What can I do with this?
Yeah.
And
What can you do?
I don't know, but I want
Okay.
to. I want to help. I want to help. I want to be out there. Like, I want to do something. I just don't know what. I don't know where to start.
Okay. Well, I mean, you don't have to think so big. Think like where you're at right now, who you're connected to, right? Start off slow. I think those people think you have to be this grand podcaster. I mean, I'm sure podcasts and videos like I haven't been slowly doing it on my Instagram and social media and stuff. But there's people that you can directly like impact immediately, like right after this podcast, right after this call. There's people in your network to start helping, or there's people that are probably with that are in the same phase of your life, right? And it doesn't have to be like for money or anything, right? Because it's when you start to find purpose and meaning, you lose it when you're in service of others, right? So that's the big thing is like what you have to find where you fulfill could be of service to other people. And I remember speaking with you earlier in our last meeting is that like what other keeps you from like being vocal and expressing yourself is that you are selfish for not saying and telling your story because your story is meant to be shared so it could be resonate with other people and help them heal and help them go through their own process. So it could be many ways, but the idea is that you're of service to people, right? It could be anything, like alcohol anonymous. The last step, I think I have that there, like the the last step is so you could be a service. You take what you learned, right? What Chris Hill has learned through his life, through his story, and part of the podcast is just to build a base for the story, right? You came on here, I release it and everything, and it's out there. That is part of your story. You said it in a powerful way. You said it and stuff. That's where you could start. You start always with yourself. Like, who could I serve with my story? right? And it could be anybody. It could be somebody's kid, somebody that you see you're coaching, right? It could be anybody in the community. That's where you start to find meaning and purpose behind what you do. And it's not necessarily that you have to change your whole career and become a life coach and or like a therapist or anything. It could be simply by creating some content around dealing with what you're going through. Because I'm not sure if you're a social media person. That's one aspect, right? If you go to church or if you have like a fitness club, if you start going to those things, you're going to start opening up your eyes to these different opportunities. There might be a divorce group on Facebook, or like not a diverse group, but something similar to like what you are going through, right? And you have a community peak performance academy where it's very like-minded folks that they're in the healing process, they're in the journey of transformation, of change, and being around people that are like-minded will give you ideas and spark it. But Chris Slow is the one that's going to keep that fire going. You know what I'm saying? Every day is that motivation, is that discipline, is that getting to find a purpose. The more you are living in service, right? That's where you're going to start finding it. And I don't know what it is, Chris. I can't tell you. You don't know what it is, right? And I can't tell you. You're part of life coach. I can't tell you what it is. It's your job to do the introspective work. And my job, my purpose is to help you, like a signpost, right? There's these tools, these strategies that we can all do, but if Chris Hill doesn't do it, doesn't find the purpose behind his booklet and everything, and be a service to his community, that's where you don't find a purpose and mission. But it's going into the work, doing the introspective work, and really seeing where you could serve. That's that's my coaching uh, advice for you if you're trying to find more mission and purpose. Does that resonate?
Yeah, man. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm glad to have you on the podcast. And let's wrap up the podcast. And I think we answered everybody's question on the Lake Braddock uh, Facebook page. Okay. Yeah, so one message, and then we'll say goodbye to the listeners. Okay.
All right, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just whoever actually watches this whole thing, I was probably, if you think I was talking about you, I probably was. And yeah, sorry for a lot of things, but moving on, moving forward, and willing to help, willing to be there for anybody that needs it, reach out. If you got my information, just don't be afraid to get help.
Yeah. That's a great message, Chris. I appreciate you having me on and being honest and vulnerable. I'm glad I could hold space for you. I know you gotta get going and stuff. I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna put Chris's contact. And he's definitely of service. Like I have him reach out to him because that's a healing process as well too when you help other people, and that's part of what I do. So anybody that's watching for our podcast, if you like it, subscribe. Reach out to Chris. Reach out to me if you want to be a guest on the podcast. If you need any strategic advice or anything, just let me know, Chris. And I'm here to support you on the journey, okay?
All right, man, thanks a lot. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. My name is Samnang, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank you guys for listening to the Flow In, Flow Out podcast. It's been great to have your support, and I want to tell you a little bit more how you can support the community and how we can support you as well too. So if you like the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, the message that we're putting out, the information, the content, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel on Spotify. Please like it. Please share it. Please share an inspiring message. It helps with the algorithm. It helps get the message out to people that need it. So that would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you are in need of more personal development support in those areas of physical fitness, nutrition, mindset, spirituality, anything in that type of area, please book a discovery call with us. We'd love to help you. We'll get some time on the schedule to chat about what your struggles are, how we can help you, and we'd love to support you on that way. And if you are interested in being a part of being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. If you have an aspiring story, if you have something that you want to share, if you have a message that resonates that's similar to what we're sharing here on the Flow In, Flow Out podcast, we welcome you to be part of our show. We're super excited where the growth and the community is growing. So we look forward to having you here, and we look forward to working with you. And thank you guys so much for the continued support and the love. And we'll continue to keep putting out the good vibrations out there to help elevate the collective vibrations. And thank you guys so much.